Part 1. Welcome to Nodding-on-Weir. Nodding-on-Weir sits between two not very important hills and alongside a river that is neither wide nor narrow. The river weaves lazily through the town like a piece of misplaced ribbon, never rushing, never rising too high. The town doesn't appear on most maps unless the mapmaker is particularly thorough, or rather fond of cartographic detail. And even then, it's often misspelled. The locals don't mind. If you were to arrive by car, you might not notice you've arrived at all. There's a small sign, politely sized, just outside the main roundabout. It reads, "Welcome to Nodding-on-Weir. Population reasonable. There is a post office, a bakery, a small library, and a cafe." The streets are named in a way that suggests someone once had grand ideas and then became charmingly distracted. There's King's Avenue, which is a cul-de-sac with 4 nearly identical houses. Queen's Parade is a row of bungalows with matching curtains, and Prince's Close is a driveway. The air always smells faintly of toast. No one knows why, but everyone agrees it's rather comforting. At the heart of the town is the market circle. Not a square, not quite a circle either, but more of a suggestion of one. It's where the townspeople come to do very little in an exceptionally orderly fashion. In the center of the market circle is a clock tower. It does not chime because the townsfolk once held a vote and decided chimes might be a touch invasive. Instead, it emits a low and barely audible HMPH at the top of each hour, just enough to let you know that time continues, but in no great hurry. On a typical morning in Nodding-on-Weir, the sun rises at precisely the right time. Never too early, never too late. It peers over the east hill, spills golden light across the cobbles, and then settles in for a long, slow day. Birdsong begins gentle, well-spaced, and melodic, as though the birds are reading from a shared sheet of music. The pigeons coo. The robins perch. A single crow named Morris usually calls out once before settling on the weather vane atop the old bookstore. Nothing truly remarkable has ever happened in Nodding-on-Weir. The most talked about event in the last decade was the time the bakery's sign was repainted a slightly different shade of beige. People still reference it fondly. Life in the town flows like the river, unrushed, predictable, kind. Part 2. The town wakes. Morning begins not with alarm clocks, but with slow stretches beneath warm covers. Curtains are drawn back not in haste, but with care. Kettles are filled and clicked on with practiced hands. The milk in the fridge has a day or two left on the label. No need to worry. Elderly Mr. Percival Button is always the first out, not because he's in a rush, but because his cat, Muesli, likes a walk at precisely 7:10. They stroll up Alder Lane together, the cat just behind, as if he's reading over his shoulder. They pass Mrs. Penelope Doone, who waters her marigolds, even when it's already rained. Meanwhile, across the street, Grace Filbert opens her curtains and hums a note to check if her voice still works. It does. She's relieved. She makes tea, always a Sam, 2 sugars, and she talks to the kettle, though she doesn't remember starting this habit. By 8:00, the town has stirred itself into activity. Not the bustling, chaotic kind. More of a quiet, methodical sort. The kind where everyone already knows where they're going, and they're in no hurry to get there. Part 3. Daily routines and boring, ADV and TRS. Every Thursday morning, exactly at 9:03, Mrs. Eunice Tabot unlocks the doors to the stationer's nook. It's not a particularly busy shop, but it has everything one could possibly need in the realm of paper goods. Pens, notepads, envelopes in 3 shades of off-white, and even rubber bands that smell faintly of attic air. Her first customer is almost always Mr. Roland Peebles. He buys a single ballpoint pen each week, always the same brand, same color, blue. He has a drawer full of them at home. He doesn't need more. He simply likes the ritual. Over at the bakery, Edith Moffel prepares her tray of morning buns. They are never quite warm, but also never cold. Perfectly neutral, she once said, with pride. Her husband, Gerald, makes the deliveries in a beige van that looks like it might fall asleep if it parked for too long. At 10:17 sharp, the first bell of the library door chimes. It is Lionel Cragg, a man with a mustache so symmetrical it appears to have been measured with a protractor. He returns 2 books, A Mild History of Curtains and Weather Events That Didn't Happen. He checks out The Joy of Categorizing, a personal favorite. On the green near the War Memorial, 3 benches face the same small bush. No one knows why. On these benches, the same 3 gentlemen meet daily. Bert, who rarely speaks, Nigel, who occasionally hums, and Frank, who is known for saying, "Well then," at the end of every silence. Today, the big event is that Frank has brought a new thermos. It is gray. Nigel hums in approval. A child named Elsie drops her mitten. A woman picks it up. She returns it. They exchange a smile so subtle it could be mistaken for indigestion. Everything continues, comfortably boring, delightfully slow. In Nodding-on-Weir, this is as close as you get to excitement, and no one would want it any other way. Part 4. Afternoon Matters and Tea. By early afternoon, the town of Nodding-on-Weir is at its most settled. The sun hangs politely above the rooftops, casting light that is more suggestion than command. It warms without demanding attention, illuminating the village in a soft, golden hush. Edith Moffel begins her second batch of tea biscuits. The first batch was shared with 3 customers who happened to arrive within minutes of one another, and felt compelled to sit and discuss the weather, the news, and the consistency of clouds. One of them claimed to have seen a rabbit in the allotment near the parish shed. This led to a great deal of speculation about whether it was the same rabbit spotted last May or a new arrival. Either way, the rabbit was was doing no harm. Across the green, Lionel Cragg sweeps the steps of the post office. Not because they're dirty, but because sweeping gives him something to do between customers. He pauses every now and then to examine the sky or to wave politely at someone passing by. Lionel is the sort of man who enjoys routine not for its necessity, but for its familiarity. The brush makes a soft shhshh sound against the stone, like a lullaby for bricks. Mrs. Tabot sits in her window, knitting something that may one day be a scarf or a sock. She isn't entirely sure. What matters is that the needles click pleasantly and the yarn is soft. At precisely 3 o'clock, the bell above the library door tinkles gently as Gerald Wensleydale returns his book. He hasn't finished it, but he's enjoyed every page he read. The librarian, Miss Bellamy, stamps it with great care and recommends another about the history of bridge building. Gerald says, and takes it home. The benches in the market circle are now occupied by Bert, Nigel, and Frank. All three wear cardigans, though only Frank insists on calling his a knitted gentleman's wrap. They discuss the temperature, the number of pigeons seen today, fewer than yesterday, and whether the church bell is running a minute fast. In the cafe, a pair of teenage girls sit with hot chocolates, whispering about someone named Alfie. No one knows who Alfie is, but everyone agrees he sounds like trouble in a very mild way. The air carries the smell of cut grass and cooling tea. The breeze has slowed to a meander. Trees rustle like an old book being gently thumbed through. A soft murmur of life flows through the town. Not chatter, not noise, just presence. And the clock tower sighs very quietly at the top of the hour. A sigh that means, yes, time continues, but slowly, and only if you're ready. Part 5, Sunset Silence. As the afternoon slips away, the town begins to soften at the edges. Shadows lengthen across the cobblestones and golden light pools in the corners of shop windows. Sunset in Nodding-on-Weir is never rushed. The sun lowers itself as though unsure if it's truly necessary to leave. In the western sky, a pastel wash of apricot, lavender, and pearl spreads across the horizon. Clouds drift slowly, if they drift at all, turning the color of ripe peaches or soft candlelight. At the bakery, Edith Moffel dims the lights and folds a cloth over the last few loaves of bread. She scribbles a note for herself in the morning. Check yeast. Smile more. Gerald wipes down the van. He doesn't have anywhere to go, but it's what he's always done. He hums a tune from his youth, something about a fairy and a foghorn, though no one remembers the words. Children's laughter softens into quieter games. Hopscotch turns to quiet chalk drawing. Sticks become fishing rods dipped into the puddles near the curb. Imaginary fish are caught. All are released. Down on the riverbank, old Mrs. Astor Periwinkle sits on her camp chair. Her fishing rod hasn't caught anything since 1993, but that's not why she's there. She likes the feel of the line in her hand. She likes the sound of the water whispering to the stones. The library closes its doors with a gentle click. The sign turns from open to closed, but thinking of you. Cats return to porches. Dogs curl in soft baskets. Birds shift on their perches and tuck their heads under wings. Even the bees in the lavender hum slower songs. In the market circle, the clock tower lets out its quiet HMPH. 6 o'clock. The benches are empty now. Bert, Nigel, and Frank have gone home. Frank's thermos sits on the armrest, forgotten. But that's all right. Someone will bring it by tomorrow. Or not. It's never urgent. A breeze slips through the alleyways and gathers the scent of supper, soups and stews, toast and tea, pie and something gently sweet. No one rushes to dinner. No one shouts through doorways. The town simply folds into evening like a hand into a glove. As darkness prepares to settle, one by one, lights flicker on. Warm lights, soft lights, invitations to slow down even more. Part 6. Night, WHISPRS, and WINDOWLIGHT. As the sun sinks behind the gentle hills surrounding Nodding-on-Weir, a calm hush settles over the town. The sky softens from warm gold to a soothing shade of lavender, and the stars begin their quiet appearance, blinking open like sleepy eyes. Windows all across the town glow softly now, curtains drawn just enough to catch the light within. The smell of evening tea drifts faintly from open kitchen windows, mingling with the cool, fresh scent of dew forming on the grass. In the quiet of the evening, the townsfolk take their last slow steps of the day. Children's laughter fades to soft murmurs, replaced by the steady, comforting rhythm of footsteps on cobblestones. Mr. Percival Button sits in his favorite armchair, muesli curled up in his lap, both content in their shared stillness. Grace Filbert, now on her porch swing, hums a lullaby to herself, one she learned long ago, but never quite forgot. The market circle is empty, save for the gentle sway of the old clock tower's weather vane, catching the night breeze like a slow dance partner. The river reflects the moon's pale light, its lazy ripples tracing the town's silhouette like a tender memory. And here, dear listener, is where you find yourself too, safe, warm, wrapped in the quiet embrace of Nodding-on-Weir. No excitement here, only the gentle unfolding of a peaceful night. A night where the only sounds are whispers of the wind, soft enough to carry your dreams safely home. So rest now, with your breath slow and steady. Feel the softness of your bed holding you, the comfort of calm washing over you. In this moment, nothing more is needed. Sleep well, dear friend. Tomorrow will greet you gently, just like today. The end.